The Commerce Comet, a story of dreams, pain, and glory. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Could Fly. The dust kicked up from Mickey Mantle's cleats hung in the still Oklahoma air like a prayer waiting to be answered. It was September 1949, and the 12-year-old blonde-haired boy stood in the batter's box of the Commerce High School baseball field, his muscles coiled like a spring ready to explode. "Come on, Mickey!" shouted his father from behind the backstop. Mutt Mantle had just finished his shift at the Blue Goose mine, his face still streaked with zinc dust, but he wouldn't miss his son's game for all the ore in Oklahoma. The pitcher, a high school senior who thought he was hot stuff, wound up and fired his best fastball. What happened next would be talked about in Commerce for the next 50 years. Mickey's swing was pure poetry in motion. His hips turned like a dancer, his shoulders followed, and when the bat met the ball, the crack echoed across the prairie like a rifle shot. The baseball didn't just fly, it soared like it had been shot from a cannon, clearing the fence by 50 feet and disappearing into the cornfield beyond. Old Pete Morrison, who had been watching baseball in Commerce since before Mickey was born, spit his tobacco juice and shook his head. "That ball ain't coming down till next Tuesday," he muttered. But Mickey wasn't thinking about the home run as he rounded the bases. He was thinking about his father's smile, the way Mutt's eyes lit up whenever Mickey did something special. That smile was worth more than all the zinc in the ground. After the game, father and son walked home together down the dusty main street of Commerce. The town was so small you could see from one end to the other, just a collection of wooden houses and a few stores built around the mining operation that kept everyone fed. "Dad," Mickey said, kicking at a stone, "Coach Williams says I might be good enough to play in college someday." Mutt stopped walking and put his hand on his son's shoulder. His fingers were thick and scarred from years of working underground, but his touch was gentle. "Son, you're gonna do more than play in college. You're gonna play in the big leagues." Mickey looked up at his father with those bright blue eyes. "You really think so?" "I don't think so, Mickey. I know so. But it's gonna take work. More work than you've ever done in your life." And work they did. Every evening after Mutt finished his shift at the mine, he would meet Mickey in the backyard. They had set up a makeshift batting practice area with a backstop made from chicken wire and old lumber. Mutt would pitch to Mickey from both sides, right-handed, then left-handed. "Why do I have to hit from both sides, Dad?" Mickey asked one evening, his hands raw from gripping the bat. "Because someday you're going to face pitchers who throw harder than anyone in Commerce. If you can hit from both sides, they can't get you out by changing pitchers. You'll always have the advantage." Mickey didn't understand it then, but his father was teaching him something that would make him special. In all of baseball, there were maybe a handful of players who could switch hit with real power. Mutt Mantle was creating something that had never existed before. The training wasn't easy. Mickey's hands bled, his shoulders ached. Some nights he wanted to quit and just be a normal kid. But then he would see his father coming home from the mines, covered in dust, coughing from the bad air underground, and Mickey knew he had to keep going. Baseball wasn't just his dream, it was his family's ticket to a better life. By his junior year in high school, Mickey was hitting home runs that traveled distances no one had ever seen. He was also running track, and his speed was becoming legendary. He could run from home plate to first base in 3.1 seconds, faster than anyone had ever timed. But it was during football season that everything changed. Mickey was playing halfback for the Commerce Tigers when it happened. He was running a sweep around the right end when a defender caught him from behind, twisting his left leg in a way that legs aren't supposed to twist. Mickey went down hard, and when he tried to get up, his knee buckled. The doctor in Commerce took one look at Mickey's knee and shook his head. "It's torn up pretty bad, son. The cartilage is damaged. You might want to think about taking up a different sport." Mickey felt his world collapsing. He looked at his father, expecting to see disappointment, but Mutt's jaw was set with determination. "Doc," Mutt said quietly, "this boy is going to play baseball in the major leagues. I don't care if he has to do it on one leg." That winter, Mickey worked harder than ever. His knee hurt constantly, but he pushed through the pain. He developed a unique running style, favoring his right leg, but somehow he was still faster than everyone else. By spring of his senior year, the stories about Mickey Mantle had spread beyond Commerce. Scouts from several major league teams had heard about the kid in Oklahoma who could hit tape measure home runs from both sides of the plate and run like the wind despite a bad knee. Tom Greenwade was the scout who changed everything. He worked for the New York Yankees, and he had driven all the way from New York to this tiny Oklahoma town because he had heard impossible stories about a high school kid. Greenwade watched Mickey take batting practice before a game against Miami High School. Mickey hit 5 balls over the fence, 3 from the left side, 2 from the right side. Each one traveled over 450 feet. After the game, Greenwade approached Mutt Mantle. "Mr. Mantle, I'd like to talk to you about your son's future." Mickey stood nearby, his heart pounding. This was it. This was the moment his father had been preparing him for his entire life. "What did you have in mind?" Mutt asked. "I want to sign Mickey to play for the New York Yankees." The words hung in the air, like that long-ago home run ball, suspended between earth and sky, between dreams and reality. Mickey Mantle, the boy from Commerce, Oklahoma, was about to become a New York Yankee. Chapter 2. The Call to Greatness. The contract was spread out on the kitchen table of the Mantle family's small wooden house, like a treasure map leading to a different world. $400, more money than the Mantles had ever seen at one time. Mickey stared at the papers, his hands shaking as he held the pen. "Go ahead, son," Mutt whispered. "Sign your name and change our lives forever." Mickey Charles Mantle wrote his signature with the careful precision of a boy who understood he was crossing a line he could never uncross. When he set the pen down, Tom Greenwade smiled and shook his hand. "Welcome to the New York Yankees organization, Mickey. You'll start with our team in Independence, Kansas. It's Class D ball, but if you work hard, there's no telling how far you can go." 2 weeks later, Mickey found himself sitting on a bus heading to Independence, a cardboard suitcase beside him containing everything he owned. He had never been more than 50 miles from Commerce in his entire life, and now he was traveling to a different state to play baseball with grown men. Independence, Kansas wasn't New York City, but to Mickey, it might as well have been Paris, France. The ballpark was bigger than anything in Commerce, with real dugouts and a press box. The players were older, stronger, and they had been playing organized baseball for years. Mickey's first day of practice was a disaster. The pitching was faster than anything he had faced in high school. The curveballs broke sharper. The players talked differently, moved differently, carried themselves with a confidence that Mickey didn't feel. His first at-bat in a real game was even worse. The pitcher threw him 3 straight fastballs, and Mickey swung and missed at all 3. As he walked back to the dugout, he heard someone in the stands yell, "Hey, rookie! Maybe you should go back to the farm!" That night, Mickey lay in his small boarding house room and cried. He had never felt so alone, so out of place. The confidence that had carried him through high school was gone, replaced by doubt and homesickness. The struggles continued for weeks. Mickey was striking out more than he was getting hits. His knee was bothering him constantly, and he was beginning to wonder if the doctor back in Commerce had been right. Maybe he should have chosen a different sport. After a particularly bad game where Mickey struck out 3 times, he called home from the payphone outside the boarding house. "Dad?" Mickey's voice cracked like he was 12 years old again. "Mickey, what's wrong, son?" "I can't do this, Dad. These guys are too good. I'm not ready for this. I want to come home." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Mickey could hear his father breathing, could almost see him standing in their small kitchen, still wearing his work clothes from the mine. "Son," Mutt said finally, his voice quiet but firm, "do you remember what I told you about quitting? Yes, sir. I told you that mantles don't quit. I told you that when things get hard, that's when you find out what you're really made of. But Dad, I'm not good enough. I'm embarrassing myself. Mickey Charles Mantle, you listen to me. I didn't work double shifts in that mine for 15 years so you could come home at the first sign of trouble. I didn't teach you to switch hit so you could give up when the pitching got better. You're gonna stay right there, and you're gonna figure it out. The next morning, Mickey woke up to find his father standing in the lobby of the boarding house. Mutt had driven all night from Commerce to Independence. Get your things, Mickey. We're going home. Mickey's heart leaped. His father had changed his mind. They were going back to Commerce, back to the familiar world where Mickey was the best player anyone had ever seen. But when they got to the car, Mutt didn't start the engine. Instead, he turned to his son with eyes that were harder than Mickey had ever seen them. I lied, son. We're not going home. But I wanted you to think we were. I wanted you to feel what it would be like to give up on your dream. Mickey stared at his father, confused. How did it feel, Mickey? How did it feel to think you were going back to Commerce to work in the mines for the rest of your life? Mickey thought about it. For just a moment, when he thought they were going home, he had felt relief. But underneath the relief was something else, a deep, aching disappointment. The thought of never playing professional baseball again, of never seeing how far his talent could take him, made him feel sick. It felt terrible, Dad. That's because you know you belong here. You know you're good enough. You're just scared, and that's okay. Being scared means you care, but you can't let the fear make your decisions for you. Mutt reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn baseball. It was the ball from Mickey's first home run back in Commerce, the one that had sailed into the cornfield. I've been carrying this since the day you signed that contract. Every time I look at it, I remember the boy who hit it. That boy is still inside you, Mickey. You just have to let him out. Mickey took the ball and turned it over in his hands. He could still remember the feeling of that perfect swing, the sound of the bat meeting the ball, the way his father's face had lit up with pride. What if I fail, Dad? Then you fail trying to be great instead of succeeding at being ordinary, and that's a trade I'll make every day of the week. Mickey went back to the team that afternoon with something different in his eyes. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with determination now. He started studying the other players, watching how they approached different pitchers, learning the subtle strategies of professional baseball. Slowly, things began to change. Mickey's natural talent was still there. It had just been buried under doubt and homesickness. His swing started to come around. He began making contact more consistently, and when he did connect, the results were spectacular. In a game against the Ponca City Jets, Mickey hit a home run that traveled an estimated 500 feet. The ball cleared the fence, cleared the street behind the fence, and landed in a residential neighborhood 3 blocks away. The opposing players stopped what they were doing just to watch it fly. After the game, the Independence manager, Harry Kraft, pulled Mickey aside. Son, I've been playing and managing baseball for 20 years, and I've never seen anyone hit a ball that far. The Yankees are going to want to take a look at you real soon. Mickey called his father that night with different news. Dad, I think I'm figuring it out. I knew you would, son. I always knew you would. By the end of the season, Mickey was hitting over 300 with 26 home runs in just 89 games. More importantly, he had learned something about himself. He had learned that he could overcome doubt, that he could adapt to new challenges, that the talent his father had seen in him was real. The call came in September. The Yankees wanted Mickey to come to spring training with the big league club. Not the minor league camp, the real camp, with Joe DiMaggio and Yogi Berra and all the players Mickey had listened to on the radio back in Commerce. As Mickey packed his suitcase for the trip back home, he held that old baseball one more time. The boy who had hit it seemed like a different person now, younger, more innocent, unaware of how hard the world could be. but Mickey was grateful for that boy. Without him, without that first magical swing in a dusty Oklahoma ballpark, none of this would have been possible. Mickey Mantle was going to spring training with the New York Yankees, and he was ready for whatever came next. Chapter 3: The House That Ruth Built. The train pulled into Grand Central Station on a cold February morning in 1951, and Mickey Mantle stepped onto the platform carrying the same cardboard suitcase he had taken to Independence, Kansas. But everything else had changed. He was no longer the scared kid who had cried himself to sleep in a boarding house. He was a 19-year-old man with a year of professional baseball behind him and an invitation to spring training with the most famous team in sports. New York City hit Mickey like a fastball to the chest. The buildings stretched toward the sky like mountains made of steel and glass. The streets were rivers of people moving faster than Mickey had ever seen humans move. The noise was constant, cars honking, people shouting, construction hammers pounding out a rhythm that never stopped. Mickey found his way to the small hotel where the Yankees had arranged for him to stay. His room was on the 8th floor, higher off the ground than he had ever been in his life. When he looked out the window, the people on the street looked like ants. That night, Mickey called home from the payphone in the hotel lobby. "Dad, I made it to New York." "How is it, son?" Mickey looked around the lobby, with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers. "It's like nothing I've ever seen. I don't know if I belong here." "Mickey, you remember what I told you about belonging. You don't belong somewhere because of where you come from. You belong somewhere because of what you can do, and what you can do is hit a baseball farther than anyone alive." 3 days later, Mickey was on another train, this one heading south to St. Petersburg, Florida, for spring training. He had never seen the ocean before, had never felt air so warm and humid it seemed to wrap around you like a blanket. Miller Huggins Field was where the New York Yankees trained, and when Mickey walked through the gates for the first time, he felt like he was entering a cathedral. The grass was greener than any grass he had ever seen. The infield dirt was raked into perfect patterns. Everything was clean, organized, professional. And then he saw them. The players he had listened to on the radio back in Commerce. Joe DiMaggio, tall and elegant, moving with the grace of a dancer. Yogi Berra, built like a fire hydrant, but with hands softer than silk. Phil Rizzuto, small and quick, turning double plays like magic tricks. Mickey stood at the edge of the field, afraid to move, afraid to breathe, afraid to do anything that might break the spell and reveal that he didn't belong in the same universe as these gods of baseball. "You must be the kid from Oklahoma." Mickey turned to find a short, stocky man with a face like a road map and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. This was Casey Stengel, the manager of the New York Yankees, the man who had won more World Series than most teams had won games. "Yes, sir, Mr. Stengel. I'm Mickey Mantle." Casey looked Mickey up and down like he was examining a racehorse. "They tell me you can hit the ball a country mile and run like your pants are on fire. They also tell me you can do it from both sides of the plate. Is that true?" "Yes, sir, I think so." "You think so?" "Son, in this business, you either can or you can't. There's no thinking about it. Let's find out which one you are." Casey led Mickey to the batting cage, where a coach was throwing batting practice. "Get in there and show me what you got." Mickey's hands were shaking as he picked up a bat. Every player on the field had stopped what they were doing to watch. Joe DiMaggio was leaning against the batting cage, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. The first pitch came in, and Mickey swung from his heels. The ball rocketed off his bat and sailed over the fence in right field, landing in the parking lot beyond. A few players whistled appreciatively. "Not bad," Casey said. "Now turn around and hit from the other side." Mickey switched to the left side of the plate. The next pitch was a curveball, and Mickey's swing was pure poetry. The ball exploded off his bat and flew even farther than the first one, clearing not just the fence, but the street behind the fence. The field went completely quiet, Even Joe DiMaggio was staring. Casey Stengel had seen a lot of baseball players in his 50 years in the game, but he had never seen anything like what he had just witnessed. This kid from Oklahoma had just hit 2 balls harder and farther than most major leaguers could hit one. "Son," Casey said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I think you're going to fit in just fine around here." Over the next few weeks, Mickey became the talk of spring training. Every day brought new stories of impossible home runs and incredible displays of speed. In one exhibition game against the St. Louis Cardinals, Mickey hit a ball that traveled an estimated 550 feet, landing in a swimming pool behind the right field fence. But it wasn't just Mickey's talent that impressed people. It was his attitude. Despite all the attention, he remained humble, respectful, eager to learn. He would arrive at the ballpark early and stay late, asking questions, studying the game, trying to absorb everything he could from the veteran players. Joe DiMaggio, the great Yankee Clipper, took a special interest in Mickey. DiMaggio was nearing the end of his career, and he saw something of himself in the young outfielder from Oklahoma. "Kid," DiMaggio said one day after practice, "you've got more natural ability than anyone I've ever seen. But ability alone won't make you great. You need to understand the game, respect the game, let the game teach you." "What do you mean, Mr. DiMaggio?" "Baseball will test you in ways you can't imagine. It will break your heart, build you up, tear you down, and do it all over again. The players who survive, who become great, are the ones who learn to listen to what the game is telling them." Mickey nodded, not fully understanding but knowing that Joe DiMaggio's words were important. As spring training progressed, it became clear that Mickey was going to make the team. Casey Stengel had decided to start the season with Mickey in right field, playing alongside DiMaggio in center field. It was an unprecedented move, putting a 19-year-old rookie with less than a full season of minor league experience directly into the starting lineup of the defending world champions. The night before the team broke camp to head north for opening day, Mickey sat in his hotel room and wrote a letter to his father. "Dear Dad, I made the team. I'm going to be a New York Yankee. I know you always believed this would happen, but I still can't quite believe it's real. Tomorrow we leave for New York, and in a few days I'll be playing in Yankee Stadium. I wish you could be there to see it. I'll try to make you proud. Love, Mickey." The next morning, as the team bus pulled away from the hotel, Mickey looked back at the spring training facility one last time. He had arrived as a hopeful kid with a dream. He was leaving as a New York Yankee, about to embark on a journey that would take him places he had never imagined. But Mickey Mantle had no way of knowing that his greatest challenges still lay ahead, that the same talent that had brought him this far would also become a burden almost too heavy to bear. The boy from Commerce, Oklahoma, was about to discover what it really meant to be a New York Yankee. Chapter 4. When Gods Bleed. April 17th, 1951. Opening day at Yankee Stadium. Mickey Mantle stood in the tunnel leading from the clubhouse to the field, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. Through the concrete walls, he could hear the roar of 44,000 people, a sound unlike anything he had ever experienced. "You ready for this, kid?" Yogi Berra asked, adjusting his chest protector. Mickey tried to speak, but could only nod. His mouth was so dry he couldn't swallow. "Don't worry," Yogi said with a grin. "It's just baseball. Same game you've been playing since you were knee-high to a grasshopper." But Mickey knew it wasn't the same game. This was Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built, the cathedral of baseball. This was where Babe Ruth had hit his home runs, where Lou Gehrig had said goodbye, where Joe DiMaggio had captured the hearts of America. And now Mickey Mantle, a 19-year-old kid from Commerce, Oklahoma, was about to run onto that sacred field wearing the pinstripes. When Mickey emerged from the tunnel, the sight took his breath away. The stadium was enormous, bigger than anything he had imagined. The grass was so green it almost hurt to look at. The infield dirt was raked into perfect patterns. The outfield walls seemed to stretch forever. And the fans, Mickey had never seen so many people in one place. They filled every seat, every aisle, every available space. Their voices combined into a roar that seemed to shake the very foundations of the stadium. During batting practice, Mickey tried to calm his nerves by doing what he did best, hitting baseballs. His first swing sent a ball screaming into the right field seats. His second swing launched one even farther. By his fifth swing, the crowd was paying attention to the young rookie with the blonde hair and the incredible power. But when the game started, Mickey discovered that Major League pitching was different from anything he had faced before. The fastballs were faster, the curveballs sharper, the changeups more deceptive. In his first at-bat, Mickey swung at a curveball in the dirt and missed by a foot. The crowd, which had been buzzing with excitement about the rookie, fell silent. His second at-bat was worse. The pitcher threw him 3 straight fastballs, each one faster than the last, and Mickey was late on all 3 swings. As he walked back to the dugout, he heard the first boos of his major league career. The struggles continued through April and into May. Mickey was pressing, trying too hard to live up to the enormous expectations that had been placed on him. Every at-bat felt like a test he was failing. Every strikeout felt like a betrayal of his father's faith in him. The New York newspapers, which had been so excited about the rookie sensation during spring training, began to turn critical. "Mantle strikes out again," read one headline. "Wonder Boy or Wonder Bust?" asked another. The fans were even harsher. They had been spoiled by decades of Yankee greatness, and they had no patience for a struggling rookie, no matter how much potential he had. The boos grew louder with each strikeout, each failed at bat. One night after a particularly bad game, Mickey called his father from his hotel room. "Dad, I don't think I can do this. These pitchers are too good. The fans hate me. Maybe I should come home." Mutt Mantle's voice was steady and calm. "Son, do you remember the first time you struck out in Little League?" "Yes, sir." "You came home crying, said you were never going to play baseball again. What did I tell you?" Mickey smiled despite his misery. "You said that striking out was part of baseball. You said the best hitters in the world strike out sometimes." "That's right. And what else did I tell you?" "You said that the measure of a man isn't whether he falls down, it's whether he gets back up. Mickey, you're playing with the best baseball players in the world. Of course it's hard. Of course you're going to struggle sometimes, but you belong there. I've seen you hit baseballs that no human being should be able to hit. That talent doesn't just disappear because you're having a rough month." Slowly, gradually, Mickey began to find his rhythm. In a game against the Chicago White Sox in June, he hit his first major league home run, a towering blast that cleared the right field fence and landed in the upper deck. The crowd, which had been booing him for weeks, rose to its feet and cheered. But it was his relationship with Joe DiMaggio that really helped Mickey find his way. The great DiMaggio was in his final season, and he could see the torch being passed to the young outfielder from Oklahoma. DiMaggio began taking Mickey under his wing, teaching him the subtle aspects of the game that couldn't be learned from a textbook. "Kid," DiMaggio said one day during batting practice, "you've got more raw talent than anyone I've ever seen. But talent alone won't make you great in this league. You need to be smart. You need to study the pitchers, learn their tendencies, understand what they're trying to do to you." Mickey listened carefully to everything DiMaggio told him. He began keeping a notebook, writing down information about every pitcher he faced. He studied film, worked with the coaches, dedicated himself to becoming not just a talented player, but a complete player. By August, Mickey was hitting over 300 and had established himself as one of the most exciting young players in baseball. His home runs were becoming legendary, balls that traveled distances that seemed to defy the laws of physics. His speed on the base paths was creating new strategies for the Yankees' offense. But it was during the World Series against the New York Giants that Mickey's world changed forever. Game 2 of the series, Yankee Stadium. Mickey was playing right field when Giants rookie Willie Mays hit a fly ball toward the gap in right center field. Mickey took off after the ball, running at full speed, his eyes locked on the white sphere against the blue October sky. What Mickey didn't see was the drain cover in the outfield grass, a metal grate that had been placed over a drainage pipe. Mickey's right foot caught the edge of the cover, and his knee twisted in a way that knees are not supposed to twist. The pain was immediate and excruciating. Mickey went down like he had been shot, rolling on the grass, clutching his knee. The crowd fell silent as they realized that something terrible had happened to their young star. Mutt Mantle, who had traveled from Oklahoma to watch his son play in the World Series, ran onto the field. When he reached Mickey, both father and son were crying, Mickey from the pain, Mutt from the knowledge that his son's career might be over before it had really begun. "Dad, I can't feel my leg," Mickey whispered. "It's going to be okay, son. We'll figure this out. We'll get through this." But as Mickey was carried off the field on a stretcher, everyone in Yankee Stadium knew that something precious had been damaged, perhaps permanently. The boy who could run faster than the wind, who could hit baseballs into orbit, was now lying helpless, his future uncertain. In the hospital that night, the doctors delivered the news that Mickey and his father had been dreading. The knee was severely damaged, the cartilage was torn, the bone was bruised. Mickey would need surgery, and even then, there was no guarantee that he would ever play baseball again. Mickey stared at the ceiling of his hospital room, tears streaming down his face. Just a few months ago, he had been the most promising young player in baseball. Now, he was a broken 19-year-old kid with a knee that might never heal properly. "What am I going to do, Dad?" Mickey asked. Mutt Mantle took his son's hand and squeezed it gently. "You're going to do what Mantles have always done, son. You're going to fight. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life, and you're going to come back stronger than before." Mickey wanted to believe his father, but as he lay in that hospital bed, listening to the sounds of New York City outside his window, he wondered if some things were too broken to be fixed. The boy from Commerce, Oklahoma, had learned that even gods could bleed. Chapter 5: The Making of a Legend. The rehabilitation was hell. Every morning for 6 months, Mickey Mantle dragged himself to the Yankees training facility in St. Petersburg, Florida, where he worked with trainers who pushed him harder than he had ever been pushed in his life. His knee, held together by surgical pins and wrapped in tape, screamed with every movement. "Come on, Mickey," shouted the trainer as Mickey struggled through another set of leg exercises. "Champions aren't made when things are easy. They're made when things are impossible." Mickey gritted his teeth and pushed through another repetition. The pain was constant now, a dull ache that never went away, punctuated by sharp stabs of agony whenever he moved wrong. But he had made a promise to his father and to himself. He would come back, no matter what it took. The doctors had told him he might never run the same way again. They said his knee would always be weak, that he would have to change his playing style, that he might want to consider a different career. Mickey listened to their warnings and then ignored every one of them. By spring training 1952, Mickey had built his legs back up to something approaching their former strength. But he was different now, older, harder, more determined. The innocent boy from Commerce was gone, replaced by a young man who understood that greatness came with a price. Casey Stengel watched Mickey during batting practice, studying the way he moved, the way he swung the bat, the way he carried himself. The manager had seen a lot of players come back from serious injuries, and most of them were never quite the same. But there was something different about Mickey Mantle. "How's the knee, kid?" Casey asked. "It hurts every day," Mickey replied honestly. "But it's not going to stop me." "Good. Pain is just weakness leaving the body, and you, my boy, are about to become very strong indeed." Mickey's first game back was against the Boston Red Sox at Yankee Stadium. When he stepped into the batter's box for his first at-bat, the crowd rose to its feet and gave him a standing ovation that lasted nearly 5 minutes. Mickey had to step out of the box and tip his cap, tears streaming down his face. The pitcher, knowing that Mickey was coming back from a serious knee injury, decided to test him with a fastball on the inside corner. It was a mistake he would regret for the rest of his career. Mickey's swing was pure violence. The bat moved through the strike zone like a blur, and when it connected with the baseball, the sound echoed through Yankee Stadium like a cannon shot. The ball rocketed off Mickey's bat and sailed high over the right field fence, over the upper deck, and out of the stadium entirely. As Mickey rounded the bases, favoring his right leg but moving with unmistakable power and grace, the crowd went wild. The boy from Oklahoma was back, and he was better than ever. But Mickey had learned something during his months of rehabilitation. He had learned that his body was not indestructible, that every game might be his last, that he needed to make the most of whatever time he had left. This knowledge changed the way he approached the game. He began studying pitchers more intensively, learning their patterns, their weaknesses, their tendencies in different situations. He worked with hitting coaches to refine his swing, making it more efficient, more powerful. He developed a mental toughness that complemented his physical gifts. The results were spectacular. By mid-season 1952, Mickey was hitting .350 with 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. His home runs were becoming the stuff of legend, balls that traveled distances that seemed to defy the laws of physics. In one game against the Detroit Tigers, Mickey hit a ball that cleared the roof of Briggs Stadium, something that had never been done before. But it wasn't just Mickey's statistics that were impressive. It was the way he carried himself. He had developed a swagger, a confidence that came from knowing he had overcome something that should have ended his career. He was no longer the scared kid who had thrown up behind the dugout on opening day 1951. He was Mickey Mantle, and he was becoming a legend. The transformation wasn't just physical. Mickey had also learned to handle the pressure of being a New York Yankee. He understood now that the fans' expectations weren't personal. They were simply the price of wearing the pinstripes. He had learned to block out the boos when things went wrong, and to appreciate the cheers when things went right. One evening in September, after a game in which Mickey had hit 2 home runs and stolen 2 bases, Joe DiMaggio approached him in the clubhouse. "Kid, I'm retiring after this season," DiMaggio said. "I want you to know that this team is going to be yours now. The fans, the media, the pressure, it's all going to be on your shoulders." Mickey looked at the great DiMaggio, the man who had been his hero since childhood. "Mr. DiMaggio, I don't know if I'm ready for that." DiMaggio smiled. "Nobody's ever ready for it, kid, but you're the only one who can handle it. You've got the talent, you've got the heart, and now you've got the experience of coming back from adversity. That's what makes champions." The Yankees won the World Series that year, and Mickey played a crucial role in their victory. In Game 6 against the Brooklyn Dodgers, with the series tied 3-3, Mickey hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th inning to win the championship. As he rounded the bases, his knee throbbing with every step, Mickey thought about his father back in Commerce, Oklahoma. After the game, Mickey called home from the clubhouse. "Dad, we won the World Series." "I know, son. I was listening on the radio. I heard about your home run." "Dad, I want to thank you for never letting me quit, for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Mutt Mantle spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "Mickey, I want you to know something. I'm not proud of you because you won the World Series. I'm not proud of you because you hit all those home runs. I'm proud of you because of how you handled the pain. I'm proud of you because you got back up when you got knocked down. That's what makes you special, son. Not your talent, your character." Mickey hung up the phone and looked around the celebrating clubhouse. His teammates were spraying champagne and singing fight songs. Reporters were asking questions about his incredible comeback season. Photographers were taking pictures that would appear in newspapers across the country. But Mickey was thinking about a small wooden house in Commerce, Oklahoma, where a zinc miner named Mutt Mantle was probably sitting at his kitchen table, smiling with pride at what his son had accomplished. Mickey Mantle had learned that greatness wasn't about being perfect. It was about being broken and finding a way to put yourself back together. It was about facing your fears and your limitations and refusing to let them define you. It was about understanding that the most important victories weren't the ones that came easy. They were the ones you had to fight for with everything you had. The boy from Commerce, Oklahoma, had become a man, and that man was just getting started. As Mickey walked out of Yankee Stadium that night, his World Series ring heavy on his finger, his knee aching with every step, he knew that his story was far from over. There would be more challenges, more injuries, more moments of doubt, but he also knew that he had something now that he hadn't had before, the knowledge that he could overcome anything. Mickey Mantle, the Commerce Comet, had learned to fly again, and this time nothing was going to bring him down. There's the legend of Mickey Mantle was just beginning. The scared teenager who had once wanted to quit and go home had become a champion, a leader, and a symbol of what was possible when talent met determination. But more than that, he had become proof that sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones about broken things that refuse to stay broken. In the years that followed, Mickey would hit home runs that traveled distances that seemed impossible. He would win MVP awards and World Series championships. He would become one of the most beloved players in the history of baseball, but he would always carry with him the lessons he learned during those dark months of rehabilitation. That greatness isn't about avoiding failure, it's about how you respond to it. The boy from Commerce, Oklahoma, had become exactly what his father always knew he could be. Not just a great baseball player, but a great man.